Hello everyone and welcome to another DVD review by Centipede Geek. Today I have a sci-fi original movie by the name of Children of the Corn. If you don't know what Children of the Corn is, it was this version that I watched. It was a made-for-television movie, like I said, on the Science Fiction Channel, and it came out in 2009, and it's actually a remake of an older film that I believe was released in 1984 with the same name. And both these movies were both based off the Stephen King short story with the same name, Children of the Corn. That's where Children of the Corn comes from. So anyways, this remake is pretty similar to the original, at least for the first half of it, it's pretty original. And then it kind of spins off into its own thing. And that's kind of for the bad in an area, kind of not for the good. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So anyways, this movie is pretty much about there's this married couple, and they're not getting along at all. The relationship is going extremely downhill, and they're trying to get away, I believe, to go off to California, to go on a vacation so they can get away, from the troubles at home. And you see, as in the original, they were actually moving to a house in this area. Well, anyways, they come across, I don't want to tell you what happens, but they end up coming across this kid out in the middle of the road, and they end up finding this suitcase with some clothing and a certain object in it, and they get involved with these kids in the corn. There's all this there's a town called Gatland or something like that, and there's no one at this town. No one has been at this town since like the 1960s. I believe 1963 is the year, and these kids keep talking about someone. They turn it on the radio in the car, and these kids keep talking about a man. They keep referring to him as he who walks behind the rose. And that's about all I'm going to say about the remake film by the name of Children of the Corn. Now I'm going to give you my opinion on the original Children of the Corn. I thought the original one, I'm not for sure who it's directed by, and I haven't read the short story, so I don't know how much it differs, but I do love the original 1984 edition of Children of the Corn. The original is so great. It's eerie. It has a great atmosphere. It's a really cool film. Now, the remake has some good bits here and there, but overall, the movie just doesn't feel right. Now, I'll tell you some things I do like about the remake. I do love the opening scene. The first 5 minutes I thought were very strange. The remake of Children of the Corn, to sum it up, is a very strange and interesting take on the original story from 1984. The '09 version starts off with these kids like slaying these pigs inside of like I believe a church or a farmhouse of some kind, and it's just kind of a strange scene, but it's a good scene. I did like the opening quite a bit. Then there's another scene where Isaac is standing on top of a building, and he's conducting the kids from the street level below. He's standing on top of a rooftop. All the kids are all lined up on the street, and he's kind of doing motions with his hands, stuff like this and stuff like that. He's doing motions with his hands and conducting them from the rooftop above, and they're below him. And the kids, there's a good at least 50 kids or so, and they all line up across the street, and they all circle around this girl in the car, and then they start like trashing the car with their pitchforks and their axes and hammers and with their bare hands and stuff like that. And that was a really creative scene. I really enjoyed that scene. It's probably one of the best bits in the movie itself. I loved the character Isaac in the original 84 edition. He was a cool character. Malachi was also a very cool character. And in the remake, both Isaac and Malachi are both solid actors. They're both kid actors. So it takes a lot of guts to do these roles, because they're killing people. But they weren't as strong as the original actors from the 84 edition of Children of the Corn. They weren't as strong, so I didn't really feel like they fit quite right because they were good. They were good at what they did, but not as good as the original actors. Now, like I said, the last hour differs quite a bit, and about the last 30 minutes or so, the story starts to go on this dramatic route because in the original, we had Malachi. Malachi's character starts to kind of, get prideful, and he kind of wants to become the leader of these kids. In the remake, that doesn't happen. Instead, something else happens, and whenever you turn 18, you have to walk out of the corn and, become the prophecy or some nonsense thing like that. Well, that's what happens in the remake, and I wasn't too fond of that. That storyline doesn't even come into play till like the last 10 minutes of the movie. It came in way too late in the film, just way too late, and by then I just wanted to finish the movie. And plus I'd say the last 20 minutes of the movie, besides, well, let me talk about this first. There's a scene where the main character actually kills some of the kids, and I liked that. I liked how he was actually fighting back, and he was given a fighting chance. I liked that because that wasn't in the original, so I liked that about the remake. I like some of the scenes where he's being chased through the corn by the kids and stuff like that. But the last 15 or 20 minutes get really goofy and very ludicrous, and by goofy I mean it starts to take itself way too seriously, and it gets very over the top. And not over the top in a good way, over the top in a bad way. I did not like the last 20 minutes or so. It just wasn't very good at all. And if you've seen the last 20 minutes, you know what I mean? It wasn't very good. And then all of a sudden the last 5 minutes are just kind of thrown in there, and they just throw some new plot line in the last 5 minutes. And then there's a lot of unanswered questions afterwards that the original movie answered very well. So anyways, the original Syfy movie remake, released in 2009, Children of the Corn, if I had to rate it a 1 out of 10 rating, I'm going to go ahead and be generous and just give this movie a solid 6.5 out of 10 because I thought it was a decent movie. It's not bad, but it's also not amazing. There's some good scenes in there, there's some good bits in there, but overall, if you want to watch a good horror film, go ahead and just stick with the 1984 edition of Children of the Corn. Anyways, once again, thanks for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers. Like, comment, subscribe to my page below, and I will see you guys later with another DVD review.